Members of Ikolo community sell their vote, but Otana community refuses to be settled. They vote for the candidates of their choice.
I do solemnly swear that everything...
After election, the Ikolo school needs repairs, but the politician has already settled them. Otana hospital needs repairs too. Otana community demands action and gets results. Your vote is powerful. It builds the future. Don't be settled.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
Make una no sit down look o.
Ina son dan sandan da a shirye yake ya bada taimakonsa a duk lokacin da aka buƙace shi.
Ina buƙatar kayan aiki domin in gudanar da aiki na yadda ya kamata.
Ina son dan sandan da ba zai ci zarafina ba ko ya kama ni ba tare da wani dalili ba.
Ina so a ɗauke ni da muhimmanci akan aikina ta yanda mutane masu gaskiya ba za su dinga tsoro na ba.
Ina son dan sandan da ba zai tambaye ni na gora ba.
Ina son albashi mai kyau kuma a biya ni akan lokaci.
Shin hakan zai iya yiwuwa? Da ingantaccen dokoki.
Ingantacciyar hanyar samar da kudaden gudanarwa. Horaswa?
Da kuma haɗin kan al'umma.
Yana iya yiwuwa.
Yana iya yiwuwa.
Yana iya yiwuwa.
I need the police that can respond to emergencies first.
I want the equipment I need to do my job.
I want a police that won't harass or arrest me for no just reason.
I want to be valued for my work, not feared by honest people.
I want a police that won't ask me anything for the boys.
I want a decent salary that is paid on time.
If it happen with good laws,
Proper funding.
Training.
And cooperation.
if it happen,
If it happens.
If it happen.
Good morning. Indeed, it's a beautiful Tuesday morning here in the city of Yola. I want to thank you so very much for making a date with us again, so that we can reach out to you and then bring you issues that has been on the front burner of national discourse. My name is Chris Jacob. Welcome on board.
And I'm Brenda, and it's good to have you join us on Safiya Breakfast Show this wonderful morning.
Yes, Brenda, I know the talk of the day since yesterday is the commissioning of Dangote refinery in Lagos, and of course that is a game changer. It's a mind-blowing, the largest, as a matter of fact, the largest individual or the largest private refinery on the continent of Africa, and on a daily basis 650,000 barrels is expected to hit the Nigerian market. Isn't that amazing?
It's super amazing. And we have a government who spent about 8 years, and they came on board to say we're going to fix the refineries and see if we can do
one refinery each
year. And we have a private sector putting up these superlative refinery. And what happened to the Minister of Petroleum? Sometimes
well, if you ask this question, what happened to the Minister of Petroleum?
No, what happened?
As a matter of fact, the President is the Minister of Petroleum.
He made these promises on a platter of gold. He told Nigerians, say, we need to fix our refineries. We need to keep it working. We need to see how we can fine-tune and change the narrative from the axis. And counting down to 8 years. Not even one.
Not even one, as a matter of fact.
Not even one after 8 years. And there was a promise of one per year. Whereas we are supposed to have 8 refineries.
Well, even though it's
whether refined, whether fixed, whether restructured,
even though it's not up to, because we have one in Kaduna, one in Port Harcourt, one in Warri. And of course, each year,
needs one.
As a matter of fact, we don't need to even build new ones as a government.
Yes.
It's just to revive those ones, because there is this money known as yearly turnaround maintenance, and that goes in millions of naira. And of course, you maintain what is not functional. So I don't get to you try. It's an irony, as a matter of fact, and monies have been sunk into the maintenance of this refinery that have not been functional over the years. Now, I know that yesterday some of them do say that government doesn't have business in doing business, but as a matter of fact, there are some national assets. That's what I'm saying. They have 20%. 20% ownership, of the Dangote refinery.
Why?
It is a milestone. It is a good development, but of course, that's not to say as a nation we should have, as a matter of fact, even if it's going to be 1 or 2 functioning refineries. So augment what we have seen on ground.
See, I think private sector should be adding to what we have already on ground. They shouldn't be the ones pulling the string, making all the effort, trying to make build-ups to economy. They should build up on what the government has provided. They should build up on what we already have existing. They should build up to what we already have coming up, so that it will ease the burden of unemployment.
That's right.
When you're trying to look at how much Dangote is able to do for Nigerian youths, you give him some accolades, and he's already talking about employing 16,000 young persons. What if government refinery were functional? How much more will that do?
Because already there is about 100 and so persons that have been employed gainfully, will be working in different sector of the refinery. And if the government had done that before, this one, Dangote's one, should have been like an argumentation to that which Nigerian government had already. And you could see, I know that presidents of other countries, Ghana, Senegal, Niger, Togo, were present at the commissioning, and the excitement in the faces of Nigerian government. To me, we should have been a little bit apologetic to Nigerians and say, we would have fixed our refineries even before now, so that we ease the burden that fuel scarcity, and of course having access to these commodities, being unaffordable as it were, is faulty. But we never showed any remorsefulness, for the fact that we couldn't, for the past 7 years, we couldn't fix a single refinery, and we're celebrating a huge milestone by an individual, which is very commendable. Yes, we need to understand the fact that we are not against Dangote setting up these gigantic state-of-the-art refinery in the continent of Africa. No, it's a plus to Nigeria. It is commendable to Nigeria, and as well, not just for Nigeria, but of course countries on the continent of Africa. But we should have had one. As a matter of fact, a functioning one.
Yes, because that was a promise made by Mr. President. He did say he was going to restructure or perhaps fix some of the refineries we have on ground. He said one in each year, and year in, year out, we've not seen that one come to feasibility. I don't know. There's a whole lot, really. Yes, they will say Nigeria is just more than making promises. I tend to believe about this. I think when you get to office, before you begin to know what to do, maybe, because sometimes when you look at the way politicians speak, you could notice some certain level of desperation. They don't understand how these systems work.
Yeah, because from the outside,
humongous promises, and at the end of the day, they'll tell you, "I'm human." We all knew you were human, and due to your capacity, you are the one who came out to say, or you and your team came out to say, "We are going to do this." And at the end of the day, we're not seeing anything on the table. It's questionable.
Maybe those were just political statements.
They were.
Sugarcoating some statements.
We never saw results. He had the dull cap on him, but we never saw some certain results play.
That's quite unfortunate.
So unfortunate, really.
Anyway, before we talk to political development as well, yesterday, I know that there are series, if you look at the itinerary of what President Muhammadu Buhari is to commission before he exits office, second Niger Bridge, I think it's today, and other roads as well constructed by this administration. So the itinerary for the marathon commissioning of this project, it's on gear, and before 29th of but I wonder why all these things, all this infrastructural development, for the benefit of Nigeria, were not commissioned, before. So I just want to get a name, niche a name for yourself.
As yesterday, I threw in a banter with some certain group of friends, and we got talking. If the refineries were going to function immediately, was there need for commissioning? I was thinking so, though. And it's kicked up properly by June, July.
Yeah, the first product we hit the Nigerian market before the end of July.
So I brought up this because you talked about the urgency of some of the commissioning of some of these infrastructures that we have available. It's not out of place. We still have some couple of days to his hand over to the new government. So he feels, okay, I initiated this project. I think it's high time I commission them. And perhaps Nigeria should know that I was the one who initiated those projects. I don't know if that's the idea, though. But it goes beyond just commissioning projects, really, because we know how much we expected from this government. We know how much effort we needed to get from the government, and also the commitment in which Nigerians gave in to the leaders of Nigeria. It's something we should worry about. The African continent is looking at Nigeria as the giant of Africa. Well, have we really played the role to deserve the giant of Africa? We used to be, I said it without a mighty word, we used to be the giant of Africa, but today we are finger pointed as the most corrupt country in the world. And as we speak right now, we've also been placed as the poverty capital also, and as also stated by statistics, most Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. So we have handful with a whole lot of bad eggs.
Well, I think it's just a kind of a misplaced priority by our leaders, not envisaging, because one of the problems we had before now is, our leaders before now never envisaged population growth, and so that vis-a-vis the plans, to fit into what the future holds as of then, was not really put into cognizance. For instance, we shouldn't have been suffering poor electricity supply. I know that in Kaenji, the turbines as at that time was designed, to meet the need of Nigerians, the population of Nigeria at that time. So while there was a population growth, astronomically, our leaders didn't envisage whether for the expansion of these national grid and electricity generation to meet with the recent reality on ground. So we got to the point where eventually we became stuck because the electricity that is generated could not meet the yearnings of the consumers as populated as they are, and that put Nigerian government on its toes, and of course we needed a think tanks, and that critical thinking mechanism had to be put in place for this expansion. And thank goodness that we're beginning to have a little bit of an improvement in the sense that the over-reliance on the hydro, it's a little bit reducing to that of gas plants, that could generate electricity. Now, I think we're going to talk about political development a little bit. I know the jostling for the leadership of the National Assembly is getting more interesting by the day. Now, a particular group came out and said they are not in support of what the National Working Committee of the APC is doing as to pegging the former governor of Akwa Ibom, Gospel Akpabio, as the anointed one to become the Senate President, while those from the Northwest, Yari, is still pushing forth. So we see a twist in this, political development. We are done with elections, yes, and we're not fully done with the tribunal going on. That one is a different conversation entirely. But we're done with election, but we also see the continuation of these gimmicks and schemes, by these politicians just for
because when it comes to leadership, right, you cannot take that away. The gimmicks, the schemings, the trying to lure your colleagues to vote for you is something to deal with. That is the what do they call it? How competition should go like, and we'll keep seeing that until the last minute, where we'll see who the cab fits, and that is how it has been. It's a culture right there, and they have to just deal with all of this excesses and get to bring out who they think should lead them at the 10th Assembly. All right, now let's do a quick review on the education sector. This is one sector that is being left to itself. Talking about how the Minister for Education, I don't know how the Minister for Education really did not do well in that sector, and it's a sector that is not too talked about, which is a concern. They say education is the bedrock of every society, but in our society today, education is not respected. It's not given that priority in which it should have, especially when it comes to the doormat of the government. I don't know how government trample on that, not taking rightful decision, not putting who will really fit that place to talk about how they should fine-tune and fix the educational sector. Universities and infrastructures are just decaying every day of our lives. We watch these things happen in our very eyes, and the government is not putting in that necessary action in making sure they fix all of this. That's the more reason why you see young Nigerians go as far as what's the name of this country right now? Chad, Cotonou here, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon to study, because they feel their calendar is more favorable. Everybody has a plan in life, and if the plan is not working in accordance, it tends to really affect people psychologically. That's a problem already. And if we have this government coming on board and not also considering education or putting it on its front page, or trying to see, okay, can we just do some priority list and see what we should really work on right now. For me, I think education is it comes first on your top list, so that you'll be able to educate people, and that would really bring about a rest when it comes to security challenges. When people are educated, when people know what to do at what point, when people are engaged, their minds are not idle, they will not become the devil's workshop.
Absolutely. All right. Well, of course, we've got a lot of things on our plate this morning, and just a reminder that you're watching Safiya Breakfast Show. You can follow us on the go by logging onto our YouTube page. I'd go to Safiya, as well as you can as well follow us in the conversation on our Facebook page www.facebook.com/Safiya on TV Go Tech. We'd love to hear from you. All right, before we bring you up to speed of what to expect on the show today, let me just do a little bit of time travel. Of course, today is the 23rd day of May 2023. On a day like this in 2013, Chinua Achebe, Nigerian novelist, poet, professor, and critic, died on 21st March 2013 and was buried at Ogidi, his hometown in Idemili North local government area. His first novel, Things Fall Apart, that was in 1958, was considered his magnum opus and is the most widely read book in Northern African literature.
If you studied literature, there's no how you will not have read Things Fall Apart. In fact, even for personal interest, it's good you just read up some of his novels. He's a very good writer. He writes out very well. Chinua Achebe, I think, while in secondary school, I think most of his novels were really giving out for assignment. Who said what, where, and to who, you know. More like the Macbeth.
For those that did literature.
For us, we did literature. Alright, equally on a day like this, the year 1992, the Italian mafia murder Giovanni Falcone, the judge, was the mafia's most prominent adversary. After he, together with his wife and 3 bodyguards, fell victim to a car bomb, Falcone became a folk hero in Italy.
And up to date, there's this mafioism, and that's still ongoing in Italy. Quite unfortunate development, of course. Now, away from these historic events, what's coming up on the show, we'll have a conversation on the just commissioned Dangote refinery, and of course, what is the economic value to Nigeria, as well as the impact it will have, on the continent of Africa. These and more, of course, we'll have a conversation on that much later.
And as we count down to the inaugurations, we're also going to have someone speak to that, especially focusing mostly on Tinubu's government and how we should begin to set agenda for the incoming. These will also be part of our conversation.
Indeed, and just a reminder that our normal regular features still remain the same, talking about Safiya Connect, which is our interactive session on social media, plus our in-house editorial, Punchline, and a little bit of headlines from select dailies in the country today. So we urge you to stay with us from start to finish. But let's take a short break now. When we return, Safiya Breakfast is continuing in just a moment. Go ahead.
I need the police that can respond to emergencies first.
I want the equipment I need to do my job.
I want a police that won't harass or arrest me for no just reason.
I want to be valued for my work, not feared by honest people.
I want a police that won't ask me anything for the boys.
I want a decent salary that is paid on time.
If it happen with good laws
Proper funding, training.
And cooperation.
If it happen.
If it happens.
If it happen.
You're welcome back. Good to have you join us on Safiya Breakfast Show this minute. I wish we just will be throwing in clips of what happens behind the scene. Like that will keep you really glued to the TV set. Alright, right about now we'll be reviewing some selected national dailies across the country. And we have 4 papers up for review. So I'll be reviewing The Guardian right about now. Just from the very top, let's look at what The Guardian is having on its front page for us this morning. Buhari's fragile peace. More hot wire, less safety. To that effect, you could read up on that story to know what that stands for. And just below the nameplate, we have telecoms rising revenues, profits fail to reflect in quality of service. And that story is on page 6. I agree, the revenues are more than the services provided, and that is eating us up. It's something we should worry about, really. When you look at the breakdown right there, you get to see the figures and also understand how these things are consuming, really. It's right there on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Look at the breakdown right there. It's so unknown. We have that of 2020, we have breakdowns 2021, and that of 2022. So you can really go to the Guardian newspaper to do justice to that very graphics right there. To other story, to the PEPC dismisses Atiku Obi's request for live telecast of proceedings. Is a page 4 story. We have $18.5 billion Dangote refinery to release first product in August. Find that story is a news story on page 6. Relief for travelers as Buhari commissions second Niger bridge today. I am so happy for the people who like that road. President Bellamore Oil Limited, Jackery celebrates wife Dr. Elizabeth at 30. Really? Jackery's wife at 30?
Yeah.
We say congratulations to that there. You can pick up the Guardian to go through that photo gallery right there to see what that entails. Please.
Alright, let's take a look at the Nation newspaper for today, the 23rd day of May 2023. Sirika, more heads to roll in aviation agencies. And Tinubu will support Navy, says Buhari. Still on the Nation newspaper, President signs Social Investment Agency Bill and others. Why judiciary must resist technical judgment, of course, is an article you can find on the Nation newspaper. While tribunal rejected motions on live telecast. Still on the Nation newspaper, petrol, diesel, others to flow from Dangote refinery, July. By 40% of output from the 650,000 barrel per day facility for export. Okay, that 40% out of the 650,000 barrel per day is going for export. And below that, Supreme Court fixes Friday for judgment in PDP's suit against Tinubu and Shatima. Well, these are some of the headlines you find on the Nation newspaper.
And it's always interesting to just go beyond that, because sometimes people feel the headlines are mostly the stories. Alright, let's quickly do the Punch newspaper together from the very top. Tribunal rejects live broadcast. Supreme Court decide anti-Tinubu suit Friday. Find that on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Just below the nameplate, we have Dangote Refinery, petrol hits market July. Federal government to save about 7 trillion naira. And riders to that says planned project export to 53 African countries and end to toxic fuel supply. Dangote, we just hope this really saved the day. Buhari says refinery game changer. Emefiele projects 12,000 megawatt power. Okay, thank you to that. The photographer speaks to the events yesterday at Lekki, speaking to the commissioning of the refineries. And my admin boosted Navy's capacity with 20 ships, according to President Muhammadu Buhari. That story is on page 433. Operators forward removal of NAMA Managing Director. We find that interesting. You can pick up the Punch newspaper to go through that story on page 26. And lastly, Governor-elect protests as outgoing governor Sean transition panels. Yes, I noticed this happening across some sites.
I don't know why
it's so unfortunate. It's unacceptable. And why are you shunning their transition? Why are you not being part of the program? Why are you not spearheading the event? Why are you hurriedly
I think Nigerian politicians have not been good losers.
They've not been good losers. Yes.
This spirit of sportsmanship isn't really in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, finally, we take a look at the Daily Trust newspaper for today, the 23rd day of May 2023. On the front page, of course, you find stories like expert want Tinubu to insist on synergy among security forces. CBN stalled intervention disrupts activities at Buhari's alma mater. And stakeholders reject renaming of aviation ministry once return to transportation. Dangote Refinery, a game changer, is according to Buhari, and risers to that say flag off Lake Chad oil drilling today. Nigeria to be self-sufficient is according to Dangote. To generate $21 billion, employ over 100,000 youth. An African company for Africa by an African entrepreneur is according to ECOWAS. Sudan crisis. Nigerian pilgrims to pay $100 airfare hike. Sad one indeed. People are cashing into this situation. Youth protesting just against killing. Call for self-defense.
Unfortunately.
Indeed. Erufai deposits to monarch and district head.
Yes, yesterday at some baggy villages were also under demolition, and I saw some photos coming in from there while protestants were really.
One may not really tell the reason behind that
demolition saga.
Well, Supreme Court rules on suit against Tinubu Shatima disqualification on Friday. These are some of the headlines you find on the Daily Trust newspaper, as well as other papers that have reviewed, the headlines from their front pages. For comprehensive details, visit the various website of these dailies. We're going to see you get a copy from your vendor. We'll take a short break now and be back just a moment beside Safiya Breakfast Show. Join us again.
Every day, we are exposed to a variety of information from the larger society and on social media. How credible are such messages? Nobody loves to be deceived. Nobody wants to be fooled. Stop the creation and spread of fake news. Don't be in a hurry to share messages. Verify facts and source before spreading. Fake news is harmful.
Yes, we're going to have a back there on Safiya Breakfast Show. As the Dangote refinery begins operations come June, July, a state for after commissioning it yesterday, the 650,000 barrels per day oil processing facility has been designed to process crude oil grades from three continents of Africa, Asia, and America. This is the game changer and in the oil sector as far as Nigeria's economy is concerned. And commending this ingenuity is a very, very important path for us Nigerians to do. I want to say kudos to Dangote for all this effort. I want to say kudos to him for making sure he really do the needful as a private sector. Dangote has written his name in gold. This is really going to change narrative when it comes to the economic sector also, because he did talk about that he's having already 100,000 young persons that have been employed in cause of that very need for services at the refinery. It's a commendable effort. It's one that we cannot just look away from. We love what he's doing. We encourage him to do some more, and others also should key into what Dangote is doing in salvaging some definite needs back here in Nigeria.
I think there's nothing much to add on this, but just a call on other persons who have been bestowed, with the financial strength, economic prowess, and so on, to also emulate, not necessarily establish, building a refinery. There are other things, yes, that could be beneficial to Nigerians. So
we should look at our infrastructure, the roads, our school system, internet.
All these economies that have been poured on Dangote because the refinery is actually, it's coming at the right time, per se, so that it can salvage, the already battered, oil sector that has taken the toll of most Nigerians. And I think that's just all. And that's our focus on Punchline today. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll commence our first conversation on the show. Join us again.
Every day, we are exposed to a variety of information from the larger society and on social media. How credible are such messages? Nobody loves to be deceived. Nobody wants to be fooled. Stop the creation and spread of fake news. Don't be in a hurry to share messages. Verify facts and source before spreading. Fake news is harmful.
All right, you're welcome back and you're watching Safiya Breakfast Show. By May 29, President-elect Bola Tinubu will officially assume office after his swearing in. And Tinubu, upon his return from his one-month trip, declared that he is prepared to hit the ground running upon assumption of office. Already, the first task facing the president is the choice of cabinet members, with lobbyists all over the place seeking his attention. So what does this mean, and what should be his priority, in this very critical time? Joining us now to further this conversation, we have Professor Augustine Okoronka. He's a public affairs commentator and a lecturer with Modibo Adama University. He joins us now to talk some more. Prof, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. Good to have you, Prof.
Yeah, pleasure. Well, it has been a very long time. Nigeria post-elections have not been faced with a lot of uncertainties, questions and interrogations of process, as we have experienced 2023. Now, Nigeria awaits the swearing in of the president-elect come May 29. But that's not to say there are a lot of bottlenecks and this uncertainty that maybe greeted the patient wait of Nigeria to that very day. What do you think could have informed this, decision, this atmosphere that seemed to be charged with this spirit of uncertainty, whether or not this swearing in should hold?
Yeah, normally, I think this is the first time that we are having a president-elect and the swearing in is being interrogated. This is the first time we're having that experience in the history of Nigeria so far up to this moment. We've not had that kind of scenario. And I think that it was occasioned by the acts of omission or commission or both by INEC in the management of the presidential election and electionary process.
Now that the election is over, and of course, in as much as presidential tribunal petition is still ongoing, that is a conversation on a different scale. What should be the priority of the president-elect? Should he be sworn in May 29? I ask this question because when President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, it took him about 6 months before he was able to get crops of ministers, and that's not to say even the ministers were very technocrat and proficient in the discharge of duty. Should this also follow suit?
Well, if only one can see tomorrow. I mean, it was from that beginning of Buhari and the formation of the cabinet that the collapse of the nation started. Because at the end of the 6 months or even 8 months, because it was beyond 6 months of waiting for selection of cabinets, what came on board is the team that we have seen up to this moment. And we've seen that was the best of his team. And it's the same party, it's the same APC. So that is everybody's fear. That is Nigeria's fear. That will Tinubu be able to break away from the status quo that APC, the track record of APC, because the 8 years of APC in the saddle, we have seen the best of APC. Will Tinubu be able to break away, given the antecedents of his age and his obvious ill health? So, having said that, the next thing is that he should break away. We have asked, can he do that? But if he can, he must and should break away from the antecedents of the past administration, and carve a niche different from there. One, he should come up within the first 1 week, 2 weeks, at most 1 month of swearing in, if it happens, with his cabinet, and let it be a cabinet made up of technocrats. It shouldn't be political jobbers, settlement of cronies. I'll give you one classical example. When you are politicking, you bring in people who help you to, it's like fighting a war. They help you, you win the battle. When to do the real work that brought you into office, if you must accomplish, you must go look for
those set of persons,
those who are experts, irrespective of whether they are political affiliation members or not, because there are also several other avenues available to you to settle your political cronies. But the work for which you were elected must not suffer. This is what happened in Buhari admission. I'll give you a classical example. The appointment, the biggest disappointment of the last administration, let me say this, in my own opinion and assessment, is the appointment of Lai Mohammed as Minister of Information. Lai Mohammed, the role he played as the information manager of the APC pre-election times was the same attempt that he used to manage information in the political...
But he attempted to justify what he was doing.
There's no justification. He is part of those who will be remembered in the history of Nigeria as those who destroyed Nigeria to make it work.
He delivered his job, certainly.
He delivered the destruction.
Minister of Information.
Yeah, he delivered the
Minister of Information. So
yes,
he did basically what he should do,
which is
as the Minister of Information.
Yes, which is to rubber stamp propaganda. Administration is different from propaganda. What he did was to administer propaganda.
You cannot say that, because if you look at how he was running that office, he was there as a Minister of Information, justifying what he should do.
No, see, history is not written by what you and I say. It is written by the things that are recorded on online, social media. That's what history will judge us.
Nigerians will judge that differently.
Yes.
Let's look at it from this angle, where we have a problem. You've been elected as a new person in government.
Yes.
Prior to that, you should have had your set of, let's say, goons that you need to work with prior to election.
Yes.
You should have all of these documents available, so that when you win, since you're going for the win, when you win, you don't have all the time to keep writing and rewriting. You can only perhaps say, okay, can Mr. A fit into this very place? Can Mr. B? But there's a problem with our kind of leaders back here, where they wait till they're inaugurated into office before they begin to think who suits where and what. And that is majorly some of the problems that we are faced with. What should be some of those first things that the president-elect should begin to do as to carry Nigerians along, because that is the first step in which he needs to take?
Well, already there's a lot of acrimonies in the land.
Sure.
As a result of the things that happened before the election, and the very things that happened during the election,
and even after
and even after the election, and even now. So, if I were him, the first thing is to make an appointment that will tend to assuage, and what do I mean here? That will tend to carry all the federating units of Nigeria together, to say, come, let us unite. If it is Nigeria indeed, and when they say, oh, the unity of Nigeria is sacrosanct, it must be seen to be practiced, to be put into practice by the kind of cabinet that he has appointed, that the unity of Nigeria is maintained. So that's one approach. So that, what is the essence of doing that? So that you are beginning to take a move towards pacifying those who are aggrieved. That's number one. Then two, you are also making a move towards unifying, because the greatest loss we suffered, which is why I was blaming Lai Mohammed as the information minister, is that Nigerians have never been at each other's loggerhead, each other's throat, as this time right now. And the government practically promoted it. Government practically promoted it by their utterances, by their actions, and by their inactions. Nigerians have never been as divided as they were in this present time, like in the past.
All right.
And the job of government is to
unify the country.
Yes.
Regardless of
yes. And that squarely lies at the doorstep of information.
The image management.
The management of
all right. During Buhari's administration, of course, we have seen this acrimony and apprehension between the executive and the legislature, which at the point, we even saw the deployment of, security operatives barricading, the entrance to the National Assembly. Now, with the new crops of senators coming on board, and the jostling for the leadership of the National Assembly is taking another dimension. What do you think the president-elect should do in terms of, romancing with the National Assembly for the betterment of the country, and not necessarily for party purposes? Because we've seen rookies coming on board, those coming for the first time to the floor of the House.
Yes, again, that's why I'm saying whether Tinubu is going to be able to break away from what we have seen as the track record of APC by putting the unity of the country, progress of Nigerians as number one priority, over and above his own interest and the interest of his party. If that becomes the case, then he will need to cut the opposition so that it is about this is the best candidate for reasons 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to move this country forward. Can you support us? Let's rally around that candidate. So it's not, if they go in the way they want to go, Nigerians will still remain shortchanged. And I'm becoming afraid. There's a very big ominous silence in the land. Nigerians look like a people who have been conquered right now.
They seem not to care about anything.
And that is dangerous, because anything, when you push a man to the wall, he has no choice than either to push you out or collapse into the wall, and the wall is impenetrable. That's more like what it is for almost all Nigerians right now. So they need to do the needful.
What are your fears? Because I see you speak with this concern about what is really going to play out. Perhaps if the things he is supposed to do as the president, he is not doing it right.
There will be total collapse of the nation. I mean, people have said it and time without number that under this present administration, what we've had is a failed nation. And people say, no, it's not. What do you call a failed? What are the indices to measure a failed nation? So the nation is already failed because, I mean, the president, I don't know what the scorecard they have given to themselves. That's why I was telling that history is not what you say, you and I say about ourselves and what we've done. It is what the people say. The president said he was going to lift how many Nigerians out of poverty? 10 million Nigerians every year. 80 million. How many Nigerians did he send to poverty?
As a matter of fact,
multidimensional. So what are we talking about? So these are the things we are talking about. If they don't do the needful, more Nigerians are going to go into poverty. And that spells doom for our nation. Because we become a nation like Sudan. We become a nation like Central African Republic. We become a nation like Congo. When, now they're coming up gradually. But then the first bad omen that happened was the level of poverty. Because a hungry man is an angry man. And hunger seems to be pervading. Poverty seems to be pervading all over Nigeria right now.
And the rate of unemployment is adding up.
It's all part of the indices of measurement of...
But how expedient it is for the unification of the country, despite our heterogeneity, which is supposed to be a plus to the nation, but already battered and badly managed. The tendencies of division are still there.
Badly managed, very badly managed. That's the worst legacy that the Buhari administration had left Nigerians. It got to divide Nigerians more than unify them. If Tinubu can begin from there, healing Nigeria, making Nigeria, not just saying it verbally, not just pronouncing it, but saying it and being seen to act it, to implement it. That all Nigerians, irrespective of where they come from, irrespective of what religious affiliation they belong to, that they matter. That the life of every Nigerian counts. If he is not seen to do that, just like the last administration has not done, then there will be further divide rather than unification. And that's to the extent that the nation will further go down rather than...
Let's try to create an idea of how perhaps the president-elect may go about doing his day-to-day activities.
Yes.
Creating an idea in the sense that maybe after the inauguration.
Right.
Taking about a week from there and calling all of the chieftains that we have from all regions to sit on the table. Let's talk. I want you to do this primary assignment for me. As a unifier that I am, let's begin from the top. He's already inaugurated, you can take that away. He's the president. He's giving an assignment to all the chieftains. Do you think that would give better results of making sure that he's carrying everyone along?
Yeah, let's talk. It's important. And
because everybody's agreed at this point.
Yes, and talking we must. And the talking is not to shut out some people and talk to others.
Yes.
You must talk. Come down from your high horse, as they will say, and go to you are even the one to go to meet those people where they are. And I see nothing wrong in talking to Boko Haram.
Talk and act.
I don't see nothing wrong in talking to IPOB. I see nothing wrong as a president. I say, okay, yeah, let bygones be gone. What is really your problem? Talk to me. I'm the father of this nation. And by the time he goes round the nation like that, even that singular move
would douse the tension.
Would douse a lot of tension. But by the time you think that some Nigerians don't matter, there are a dots in the circle.
That is when the point of marginalization.
Do you think the feelings of alienation is actually one of the causative problems and insurrections we see in either the southeastern part of the country?
You know, I do agree with that view, because you remember that when the President Buhari came on board, the most calm section of the country was northeast, and southeast and south-south. South-south was a bit turbulent because of oil theft and the things that happened in the creeks. But that had almost been nipped in the bud by the move that Yaradua took before his death, the amnesty program. So that part of the country was very relatively calm. But by the time the president took over and started saying that I will not give equal opportunity to those who gave me 5% vote.
And that shouldn't have been.
That's not the talk of a father.
Governing Nigeria.
Once you win an election, you have become the president of that nation. Unless you say to yourself that certain parts of the country are not part of the nation.
Which is not possible.
But that was what he said, ab initio. And that was what fueled agitation in the southeast. There was nothing like that. There was Mazop, which was not making any serious. Even when the IPO came, nobody knew Nnamdi Kanu. It was the Buhari's administration that blew him to limelight.
All right. Now that the president-elect, have a lot in his tray, to handle, the agitation by IPOB, and other militant group, is predicated on the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. And do you think the president-elect Bola Tinubu should go beyond and damn whatever previous thought of consequences in the Buhari's administration were, and then release Nnamdi Kanu, use it as a litmus test to see whether
it will douse tension? Yeah, I think that the President Buhari and his managers and advisors missed an opportunity, because when the elders of the eastern region visited him, he promised, and that's the tragedy of the present administration, that government makes utterance and reneges openly. It makes utterance, not secretly, but openly, but it reneges at the end of the day, because the word of the president is a law. And your word as a man is your bond. So if a man is as good as he can keep his words. So he said that the problem is not a political problem. It is because they were saying solve this problem politically. That's what the report said. Yes. He said no, that he doesn't want to approach it that way. The matter is already in court. Let the court decide. And the court decided that the guy should be released. And suddenly, from nowhere, a rearrest was made. and the matter. So you see, so when you can't be trusted. So I'm saying that yes, that was an opportunity to have healed all of this. It was mismanaged. Second opportunity, second chance. Now, another brand new chance has come with the incoming administration to say, okay, that was then. Now it is me. Forget about how I have emerged, whether everybody likes it or not, but I am the one on the saddle now. And I'm the one saying, okay, come out, let's talk. It will.
So how much of this talking would he do, because he have also the bandits to deal with, and for bandits there's no leadership. Everybody is operating at his own level. For Boko Haram, they've been swinging from one point to the other, and all of this really needs the attention of Mr. President, and we've seen how much security agencies are also putting in effort in making sure that they nip this whole thing in the bud. And we're reading on the papers this morning where I think a columnist was calling upon Mr. President, the president-elect rather, to synergize the security agencies together, make sure that they deliver really well. Where do you start with this?
Yes, I think that the first thing is to be able to take all of these and delineate them, because each one has its own different merit. The IPOB is an agitation for either self-rule or give us a fair share of what you are giving to other parts of the country. So their case is clearly understood. I don't think there's any Nigerian that does not understand what IPOB is saying. But the question then is, what is Boko Haram's problem? Is it to Islamize Nigeria and force everybody to be Muslims, or do they want any region or caliphate? So what is the demand of Boko Haram? And I come to the other bandits.
Terrorists.
The terrorists. Bandit is a baptismal name. They're terrorists.
Terrorists.
How long did it take for people to go to court to secure really for them to be named, for them to be branded what they are? These are the things we're talking about. You can see obvious, glaring injustices. IPOB was branded a terrorist submission overnight. But it took months before somebody had to go to court and bandits were branded. But that's not even the issue. The issue is, what do the bandits want? So far, if you ask my turn, is it that they want the ranches, they want the cattle roosts reinstalled? So these are the things that must be established before the government. We must establish clearly what each of these dissenting voices are fighting for. And until that is done, there can't be any meaningful solution.
And if you look at the modus operandi of these three groups of enemy of the state, Boko Haram, Bandit, and IPOB, they are distinct in their operation. Before now, Boko Haram was attacking only uniformed men.
That's how they started.
Then much later, attack religious sites, church, mosque, schools. Then trickle down to the bandits. Bandits, invade communities, innocent communities.
They started with rustling.
And they're like their thieves. Very good. In fact, originally the word bandit, then we see them attack, from
community, displace them, take them hostages, rape their wives and children, and maim them.
IPOB before now weren't killing anybody.
They had no guns. They were very
just agitation and then possible blow off some.
No, they were not even doing anything harmful.
But now they've gone wild.
They've gone wild.
Yes.
Because efforts weren't made on time. It's a stitch in time.
Saves nine. Saves nine other stitches. That's actually what that statement means. One stitch that you do on time saves you 9 other stitches.
So we couldn't do the stitch on time.
No, we have 9 of such stitches to do,
which we have to contend with.
So in goodwill, we hope the president-elect listens to these voices, includes everyone, bring everyone to the table. If Mohammed cannot go to the mountain should definitely come to Mohammed. So these are solutions in which we are preparing right here to see how he can salvage the nation from what it is looking right now. The face of the nation is dull.
It's not looking good.
Most Nigerians are not happy with what has
transpired in the last 8 years.
Prof, there's no better way of ending this conversation. A fantastic conversation, I tell you. Thank you very much for your time and company.
The pleasure is always mine. Thank you very much, Prof.
And this brings an end to this very conversation we had with Professor Augustine Okaronka. We just speaking to the inauguration come May 29 and setting the agenda for the president-elect. Do join us again after the break for more on Safiya Breakfast Show.
This is Ikolo community, and this is Otana community. As election time nears, politicians arrive with money. Members of Ikolo community sell their vote, but Otana community refuses to be settled. They vote for the candidates of their choice.
I do solemnly swear that everything
after election, the Ikolo school needs repairs, but the politician has already settled them. Otana hospital needs repairs too. Otana community demands action and gets results. Your vote is powerful. It builds the future. Don't be settled.
No sit down look.
No sit down look.
Make una no sit down look o.
Alright, you're welcome back and you're watching Safiya Breakfast Show. Now, the APC administration came on board 2015 to change the title narrative of the PDP, as well as to lure and woo a huge percentage of Nigerians to believing that this administration can do much more better than the previous administration of the People's Democratic Party. Now, 7 years down the line, the good, the bad, and the ugly is still on the purview for Nigerians to take. But even as we continue to look forward to crossing the T and dotting the I's, and with the new administration coming on board of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what is it that Nigeria needs to know and Nigeria need to expect in terms of the dice being cast already? Now, I've been joined by Colonel Professor Andrawu Sawa. He is a public affairs commentator, a theologian, and as well a politician. And he joins us now to further converse on this very developing issue that is before us in the country today. Prof, it is a pleasure to have you join us on the show. Once again, we want to say congratulations. Last year you clocked 80.
Yes,
the month of December.
Thank you very much indeed. It's a pleasure to be with you again, Gotel. Gotel has been my friends all along my life, through the time that I even finally got elected as a senator. I have been very close to Gotel, and Gotel has also been very close to me.
Interesting.
By the grace of God, like you rightly said, I clocked 80 on the 24th of December last year. And I have every reason to thank God.
That's right.
Because He has been good to me.
All right.
I'm married with 9 children, and all the children are doing very well. And I am also the grand patron of PDP nationwide, as well as diaspora.
Right.
I am the grand patron, and that is an opportunity given to me. We have worked very hard in PDP, and we are still working.
Indeed.
We have not given up, and I am not giving up either.
All right. Let's say, well, okay, now, by your age, of course, it's indicative that you have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. Hausa will say, kagan shekaran jiya, kagan jiya, kuma na ga na yau, kagan yau. Kuma Allah ya da zaka gan gobe.
Da yardan Allah.
All right. Now, let me pick you on, first of all, your experience as a military officer, as a colonel of the Nigerian Army. And as a matter of fact, not just recent colonel, 1979 colonel, before in 1976, you were already a colonel of the Nigerian Army. 2015, Nigeria was battled and besieged by Boko Haram activities. And the hope of Nigeria is for the president to come on board who has a military background to deal decisively with these unscrupulous elements who are enemies of the state. Now, the scorecard of President Muhammadu Buhari in terms of dealing with the enemies of the state, Boko Haram, bandits, and so on. How will you rate that performance of General Buhari?
General Buhari has been a very good friend. We fought the war together, the civil war, side by side. He finally came into power with Idiabon as his second in command. Idiabon did a lot, and it looked like it was Buhari doing it. But the reality was that it was Idiabon. I have not seen anything special about the administration of Buhari.
How do you mean?
He called me and asked me to come back to the army. This you can confirm from him or from anybody who is close to him.
When he was a military head of state?
Yes, when he was a military head of state. I was already in the Senate. I have been elected from my own central zone here, and I was in the Senate when they took over in January 1984. I won my election in 1983. For whatever the reason, he called me, and I went, saw him, said, Andrew, I would want you to come back to the army. Then I said, no, I am sorry, I cannot do that. It's not right. It's not just, okay, you are the head of state, you can now bring me back into the army, and then joyfully I'll say, okay, I'll come back. He said, I'm going to give you a major general's rank. I left as a colonel. I said, even if you have to give me full general's rank, I am not going. I'm sorry.
And you have your...
I say, I have principle. I am principled. I am brought up from a home that has principle. You cannot just take me and say you are going to give me an appointment as a major general. I said, it's wrong. What will others say, those who are even my course-mates, who are still majors and lieutenant colonels? Yes, I did well. I was able, in 1976, I was already a colonel, a full colonel, which was excellent. But that doesn't mean that you should use that opportunity to bring me up, of which my children one time are going to be booed, my own children. You belong to a father who, today he was in the army, tomorrow he is also in the political field. I said, sorry, I am not accepting. Then I said, finally, please, take note. I am not saying I am going to think about it, because there is nothing to think about. So please don't approach me on that line again. Otherwise, I will be upset. When I get upset, you will not like it. You know it yourself. He said, no, Andrew, it's all right, it's okay. Do you want an appointment? Then I said, no, I don't. I'm okay the way I am. That's how I left the army. Till today, I am no longer in the army, by the grace of God. And I've done well. I have lost nothing. I have gained a lot. Buhari's regime was a bad one.
In what sense?
The two things the Constitution says: protection of citizens and also protection of the citizens' property. None of that has been done. Buhari didn't do it. As a result, we have the Boko Haram, like you rightly said. They even went and built my house in Garkida. I am not trying to put up another house.
But he instructed the Chief of Army Staff then to relocate to the theater of operation, which is Maiduguri. And of course, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, yes, it is statutorily his right and impetus, to instruct Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Navy Staff, Chief of Defense Staff to relocate to Maiduguri, which of course, as at then, the Chief of Army Staff did not relocate, or it was a temporary location. So will you blame President Muhammadu Buhari for that?
In the army, if you are a leader, your leadership must show not just by how you command, but how you also make use of that opportunity given to you as a leader to put everybody in his place and to make sure that they do what is right. He has not been able to do that. So even though the senior officers were all drawn into Maiduguri, but did that stop what was happening? It didn't. Children were still being taken away. Women were still being taken away. The Zambezi has still become a base for the Boko Haram.
Sambisa.
And all that. So Buhari did not show me that he was actually a military person.
But
he failed.
Can you comment a little effort which he made, because that brought to standstill some of the operations of the Boko Haram when you try to really do a little analysis on his effort in curbing the security concerns?
Yes, well, as far as Boko Haram is concerned, their target is to kill, not to maim, but to kill. And they are ready, and they were ready to do it, and they had done it, and they had been able to sweep, like the Chibok people, the Chibok children, carry them into their own base. Like Leah from Yobe, carried her to their base, and essentially has 2 children now. You can imagine how pathetic that type of thing is.
All right, Colonel, now that the Buhari administration is fizzling out gradually, in the next few days, a new government will be sworn in. And the fear of the uncertainty, all the questions and interrogations of the process is that the new government is also coming on the same platform of the All Progressive Congress. And expectedly, is going to be a continuum, because the president-elect said he will continue, he will build on the good legacies of President Muhammadu Buhari, but which of course we know that different stroke for different folks. What do you expect of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his administration, in his first 100 days in office?
Well, the sincerity and the truth about the whole matter is, did he really win? That's the question. Did he really win? I am PDP. I have every right to question whether he actually won. Did he really win? Because I was watching everything that was going on. Suddenly, he stood up and started clapping, and people started clapping with him. And the next thing is, congratulations. Congratulations for what? If our judiciary are serious, if they are serious, whether it is before he's sworn in or after he's sworn in, our judiciary needs to stand up for the truth.
But before you talk about the judiciary, of course, let's also scrutinize the Independent National Electoral Commission, which is the umpire.
You are right. You are right. In fact, you are very right. They are the first people that should clean their home. They are not clean. Why should the INEC chairman take that plane to go and see Tinubu in Lagos?
These were all speculations that came in process of the election.
Just allegations and speculations.
Are they allegations?
Yes.
They are not true, you mean?
We've not seen any justification that came about to say this is
Something happened immediately after that happened. After he moved by the plane to the place, the next thing was declaration that he won. And many believe that a lot of money had been pumped into it. Whether it is true or not, the truth is that we have not actually seen the counting of the votes from one state to the other to confirm and to believe that he actually won.
All right, now that he will be sworn in May 29th, already there is a pending petition at the ongoing presidential election tribunal.
Correct.
And as at yesterday, the tribunal struck out the sorting for live telecast or live transmission of the process entirely. So are you still optimistic that the judiciary will come out crystal clear in terms of the process?
That is the problem in this country. So many things that are wrong are happening, and they happen, and nothing happens. Okay, they are wrong, they are not right. Impunity, that's the word. Impunity. People do things where they like, and they get away with it. Nobody will catch them or say, this is wrong. Go and face the judgment, the proper and right judgment. Nothing happens like that. So to me, I am praying. I'm a Christian. I'm raising my hand to the Lord Jesus. And I'm saying, Lord, do what you believe is best for us in this country. That's my prayer. And that's the prayer of so many of my other colleagues. Like you rightly said, I'm a professor of Christian counseling and psychology. I got this from the American University. And I stand it strongly that we who belong to God through Jesus should pray. Right. Those who belong to Muhammad should also pray.
Well, with prayers, you know, we back here are very good with praying, but there is no action. We pray a lot, we keep hoping, we keep voting for leaders after 4 years, but we don't see that dividends happening. It's supposed to be side by side. You walk and you pray and you see results.
Correct.
So how much of these prayers are we going to keep putting on board without seeing the practical results?
Well, like I was saying earlier on, we didn't have leaders that have Nigeria at heart. We didn't have. If we have leaders that have Nigeria at heart, a 90-something-year-old man cannot come and say he's 70. If that can be done right away, and that can be a reason to say no, in that case you cannot be a president.
But
nobody will come up and say anything.
Prof, are you sure of that? Because it's what we saw he presented that gave about 71 guys.
71.
Yes.
That's why I was saying at the beginning when we started this topic, I said I am 81 and he is saying he is 71. He is my younger brother by 10 years. The way you see me and you see him, can you tell me now that I look older than him? Can you even tell me that I look close to his age?
All right, Prof, you know, we just have limited time now. You were a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Correct.
And we have seen where in recent times, of course, we have three arms of government, executive, judiciary, and legislature. Now, we have seen in recent times the romance between the executive and the legislature. So what should we expect, you know, in President-elect President Tinubu's administration and romance with the legislature, owing to the fact that about 60% of those coming as senators are coming for the first time? You know.
Well, that is a good question, especially that you have the majority being youngsters or people who have not been there before. We require and hope that proper democracy prevails. To have a proper democracy is to choose the people for the leadership in the proper way, democratically. If that is done, we have a hope.
All right. Well, we want to thank you so very much, Colonel Professor Andrea Wusawa. Thank you most sincerely for having you on the show. I'm still looking forward to having more of your presence here.
I want to thank you very much. I've been away for long. I stay in Abuja now. And when I came here, we have some people who died, and we are having one of the the funeral services near here, and I decided to come and see you. I'm so happy to see you. And I'm seeing people whom I have so long time, and they still look the same. I look different now. Look at my hair. But I praise God. I'm really happy to see you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for the opportunity you have given me.
Thank you.
One thing I noticed, which I have to mention, we lost a lady. Her name was Ruth Lee Ilya at the villa. I normally go to church in the villa. This lady was only 46 years. What I noticed at the event was that Christians and Muslims, you can hardly say who is a Christian and who is a Muslim. We all joined hands together. She was a good person. And because she was good, everybody came around. And I am praying that we have the same type of thing everywhere in this country. We need to love each other.
That's correct.
And we need to be each other's keepers.
That's right.
May God bless you.
Amen. Thank you once again. Well, that was a conversation with Colonel Professor Sandra Wusa. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll delve into another interesting conversation on the show. Join us again.
I need the police that can respond to emergencies first.
I want the equipment I need to do my job.
I want a police that won't harass or arrest me for no just reason.
I want to be valued for my work, not feared by honest people.
I want a police that won't ask me anything for the boys.
I want a decent salary that is paid on time.
If it happens with good laws,
Proper funding,
training,
and cooperation. If it happens.
if it happens.
If it happens.
I always wish for something to always come from this studio for you to watch, really, especially if this is on set. It's good to have you join us back on Safiya Breakfast this minute. We're going to dive into another conversation. The Dangote refinery, established by Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has been inaugurated, and yesterday, let's just put it in that place. Just data in the document obtained from the company showed that the Dangote refinery would support the establishment of 26,716 filling stations and going to create about 100,000 direct and indirect jobs and provide at about $21 billion market for Nigerian crude oil annually. It was also gathered that the refinery will deliver a surplus of about 38 million liters of petrol, diesel, kerosene, and aviation fuel for Nigeria daily. Hence, it would meet the 100% fuel supply requirement of the country. What can the Nigerian government do to implement this effort? Just made by one man. An effort of one person. What should the government put in place also, making sure that they work hand in hand? To speak to this latest development, we've been joined by Benjamin Gabler. He is one fine finance analyst that is joining us on the show this very minute. Good to have you on the show this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Mr. Gablai, thank you for having you on the show.
Yes, there's been excitement right from the news when it broke out to say Dangote was going to build up some certain refineries across board. Yes, it just talked about, one time talked about, and yesterday it came into limelight where it was commissioned. And the excitement is still in the air. Let me quickly have a check about that before we look at the economic value of those refineries.
To me, I'm not too excited because Nigeria should not expect too much from Dangote being a capitalist, and that people should still be calm. I'm not very sure whether the prices of the fuel will come down because of this, and I have my very good reasons. So this morning I just want to say my take on this is that it's a nice thing. It will make our balance of payments to be better. It will regulate our naira possibly because of the offtake and flight of this crude oil being closer now. But I don't think positively to a poor man that is going to be so much positive. So there's going to be enough fuel, I know anyway. And but the issue of the price going down, I have a very big question about that.
Well, as it were, rather, 650 barrel per day. The 650,000 barrel per day. That's what will be pumped into the market. But out of it, 40% of it will be exported. And doesn't that speak of aiding the naira to gain more grounds in terms of?
Yeah, I talked about balance of payments. What normally brings about this falling of naira is when you don't have your trading with the outside world will largely depend on how much you give to the world. Now you realize that the offtake of fuel by people that normally take it out for refining and bring it in, they normally get dollars from the CBN and the federal government, which some of them will just get the dollars and go to black market and begin to sell, which is bringing about this issue of hike in the and falling of our naira. With this now, even though it may not be scrapped completely, but I still believe that it's going to be better these days because the volume of dollar that will be requested will be released by federal government will be lesser, which will develop our naira stronger in exchange with dollar. Is a positive one.
Let's look at the value of which this is going to place. We did talk about how it's going to really recruit some about 100,000 young Nigerians to do direct or indirect job. This is one person who is shouldering all of this responsibility. Tell me how this is not really giving us a better effort compared to what the government promised. They said they were going to build one refineries every year, and we are having 8 years elapsing by Monday or thereabout. Not even one.
That's been innovative.
It's been innovative. Talking of running into service.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that some of the laws you collect from the lending agents and the other countries normally comes with terms and conditions. I want to believe that when Buhari was campaigning, he never knew of maybe some of the contracts being signed before him. Getting into it, I want to believe, quote and unquote, that what he makes, maybe there must be a sign. I'm not very sure, but I'm still doing research on it, that there's a signing that took place by a contract by the Nigerian government not to renovate our refinery for 30 years. So these are one of the terms of and conditions of the loans we collected from other countries. So even if he has the willpower to do it, the willingness to do it, I can still assure you it's not going to be possible if that kind of agreement has been entered to and the funds are still with us, we didn't pay back.
But if the agreement is something to go by, that means it is a commendable effort to having Dangote set up a refinery.
No, it is a very good one. It is a very good one. Now, I think government must have thought, if this thing cannot work this way, if we cannot have a party, I read something that Dangote was at a point wanted to quit this business because of the pressure he receives. But he said what Buhari told him not to quit. I still count on a very good one from the President Muhammad Buhari to encourage him to just instill this one. You see, one of the problem I'm foreseeing is that if they say about 60% of it will be pushed into Nigeria, and if it works, I can assure you that we're going to have a very great issues, and even the number of filling stations that are certainly going to work for us. But is it always going to be the way it is being written? And that's one of the questions that remain unanswered in the minds of Nigerians. Sometimes it will be said like that, but like I said earlier, without any regrets, that Dangote is a capitalist, and you may realize maybe in the nearest future you begin to export more than bringing in. And at the end of it all, NNPC will still have to go take off oil to go and refine and bring to Nigeria, which is going to be a disaster to this nation. But hoping that if what they have written and agreed on by federal government, that these things are going to be like this, I'm telling you that there's going to be a huge relief for Nigeria.
20% ownership of the federal government, don't you think they're going to work side by side in making sure those documents stand?
Yes, we pray so. You see, it's a document, and it is expected that even this NNPC is supposed to take all our fuel to that person to refine it. Yeah. Looking at the fact that it can feed Nigeria and even outside nations within it. But what happened? That was why I said earlier that if that is done, what it means is that our naira will grow very fine against dollars, because we don't have to give out money from the central bank dollars now, which will reduce the demand for dollar in Nigeria, which will make our naira to grow, to appreciate better.
What used to be the norm if Nigeria crude oil is taken outside for refining? Of course, there are byproducts, hydrocarbons, petroleum. There are bicarbons that we don't so much pay attention to. We're only concerned about the PMS and the DPK, that's jet A fuel. But with this Dangote refinery on board now, all the byproduct now will have language we retain in the country. So doesn't that add to, of course, apart from job, opportunities, it will also boost certain businesses, right?
It will boost our economy in the sense that, when they talk about the creation of jobs, direct and indirect, some of the indirect creation of job is the market, those kind of byproducts we create for the young Nigerians. And when it creates that much byproduct for Nigerians, certainly our economy will grow, and it will make it very comfortable for the nation.
Wow, there have been so much accolade to this effect, like a lot of efforts put in place, energy, synergy, all the talking, documents. The primary assignment really done in making sure that this is coming on board. He did talk about how this is going to start distribution by June, July, and then July to precise. What do you make of this?
I was expecting after the commission yesterday, at least Dangote fuel supposed to have started going out. I don't know why this delays. These are some of the issues. These things have been by the first quarter. The construction was almost done. Waiting for this period to be commissioned, and now maybe looking at transition now, and beginning to maybe make some concessions and make some adjustment with the new government to see whether he'll be respected for some things and other things. Why not start immediately it's commissioned? I was expecting to see trucks going in, even that yesterday, and first start coming out. It's quite unfortunate. We don't know what is the actual thing, but to me, we still hope for the better.
To commission the projects.
No, there wasn't a haste. That's why I'm saying that since there was this delay after the completion of that project, this delay, it's supposed to have been that by commissioning yesterday, things should have started automatically. But given another time again to June, July, but fine. We'll still wait for it and see.
Let's not forget that this project started way back 2017.
Yes.
Right? And it took their time, to have worked on it. But in a situation where, this is coming on the heels where the NNPC is said to have been privatized now, is a liability company. So, questions, there are some little bit of suspicion, and questions that is raised about the synergy now with the privatized NNPC and the Dangote refinery. Is it not more of personal beneficiaries that one would be seeing instead of some of these monies or revenues going into federal government coffers?
When you look at their agreement or the contract they signed, it was no privatization at this stage. It's commercialization.
Commercialization.
Yes, to some extent. Yeah, NNPC has been commercialized, making it that. That's why you see the prices of fuel is no longer that is the same all over the nation. And notice it's different. They commercialize that if you pick fuel from the takeoff, if you take it further, you're going to pay. Before they normally pay way bill, they pay the transportation cost. They have commercialized it in such a way that people should take care of all their bills. And government will not be paying a lot of payments like this. It isn't the level of privatization for now. We hope that it doesn't reach that. But the commercialization is fine if it is being followed judiciously. But we can still see that you find out you go to NNPC's filling stations now and you realize that there are 6 or 7 pumps and they're only working with 2 or 3. So that people should be frustrated and still move back to buying from their outlet. So you see somebody having an NNPC station, they still have like 3 other ones that are not NNPC. So if they give you phone for an NNPC filling station, for example, he divert them to show people that he's still dispensing fuel in his NNPC. He make it frustrating so that people should still go back to their own. The businesses are just frustrating. I don't really understand.
But even those who are licensed with the NNPC license to dispense PMS, you see them, their price tag differs from what we see NNPC stations. And can you just allude it to the commercialization? Because when they try to talk about how humongous the taxes are and the payments for way bill or whatnot, we tend to just figure out how these things are really working differently for different owners.
You see, the market forces determines the price of fuel for now, and that somebody that picks the fuel in Were or in the seaport to Maiduguri will have a different price from person that pick it to Josh. So that's why the prices are different. But coming to places like Adamawa, the way they made the prices are northeast are supposed to be the same, north central is supposed to be the same, northwest, and even it gets, when the closer you are to the seaport, the cheaper it's supposed to be. But what we see these days is that is DPR really still working? The commercialization affected them. I don't know whether they are still exercising their duties as it's supposed to be.
We see 230, we see 200 displayed, but we're paying 230.
This one happens with the normal commercial sectors, but for the NNPC is 199 thereabout, and they are still doing
major marketers.
Selling 200.
So you see.
But you see a display of 199 with 200.
Looking at the distance from the offtake, to the landing cost, we do have depots like the one along Noma Road, which ordinarily marketers shouldn't travel this far. They should get their product here. But over time, we've seen this deliberate declining of, dispensing or loading of these tankers, from these depots and so on and so forth. So could that be also a part of this deliberate frustration, and creation of this scarcity thereby so that they can get these enormous gains that they make?
The initial plan by the government that initiated this issue of depot was that this fuel will be transported underground to these places.
That's right.
But it has never worked. If it had worked, that means from Warri refinery or from any other refinery, they will transport this thing underground and it will just appear here. And then fuel tankers will pick it from here and distribute it, which would have made it easier. But the military government, I think it's General Babangida that started that.
But it used to be like this. There used to be fuel here.
That fuel was still brought in by NNPC trucks to be deposited there, not really that it was going underground. I mean, there was supposed to be a pipeline for it to be transported, which it never happened.
Maybe because of activities of vandals,
to some extent.
That create speed.
You know, in Nigeria, we will help our problems to grow.
Well, it's an interesting development, and we just hope that. But with what we saw yesterday, this is not going to be beneficial to, as in talking about Dangote refinery. It's not going to be beneficial only to Nigeria, but having the presence of the president of Ghana, president of Niger, president of Togo, president of Senegal. So the market scope, is actually these areas where this president, attended, actually a catchment area for the Dangote refinery.
Even before the coming of this refinery, these are people that we supply fuel to, and but like I said, it will increase our market. Even the crude oil, even the refinery oil will still be sent by the Dangote refinery. Now, that's one of the major things I think Nigerians will expect and benefit from is the issue of appreciation of our currency. With this now, we will have a very good balance of payment to bargain our currency in the market, world market, and that gradually we're going to experience a very good appreciation of our naira, which will make things to go down to some extent.
What would you think, or what would you say would be some source of concern? Because most of the times when new things like this comes on board, we definitely need to look and do some certain assessment if they are not really technique, and this is really not going to work well. What do you think is some of the things right now?
Yeah, I expected that even before the refinery starts the building, they must have did their survey, they would have did their normal understanding of what happens. But I still want to believe that they should be very careful, because there's going to be serious attack on him, market attacks. To be fair, there are people that are just collecting dollars from government for the fight of this taking fuel out and in. They will not be very comfortable for him to be like this. And I think even himself will want to go into understandings with them to some extent to see that they are not completely out of business, which will affect a common man in this nation. Because if this thing starts the way it's supposed to start, that means most of the rich men will begin to be drowning.
All right, before now, there's been this craving by the federal government to seek for a loan, $800 million, as an argument for the subsidy removal, as a palliative to aid or augment what people have gone through over time. Now, with the Dangote refinery on board, do you think the issue of subsidy removal, as per what the government has done before now, will completely be a forgotten issue and a thing of the past?
What the government were looking for, initially they were aware that this refinery will be commissioned yesterday. What they did was headless. It was crazy. There was a time I was even thinking, does it mean that maybe because these people realized that maybe the Senate that even allowed it to pass through, maybe about 60% of them are not going to be on stage. They wanted their severance packages, and they wanted to just loot this money. To be very frank, how can somebody talking about removal of subsidy, they never believed there was subsidy before he come into office, and now he spent 8 years, and they want to start removing the subsidy into another person's God? Does that sound like it's a senseless thing? It's a senseful thinking. That thing was senseless. It was headless, and I felt Nigeria should reject this thing. I said it and I said it again, that if Nigeria must go on street to reject the issue of collecting of this loan, because as far as I'm concerned, they want to just bag it and move with it.
Even at that, we're relative in which the reunion for. And this brings to the question of how government are collecting loans while leaving office. This is a huge concern, really.
It's a huge concern, and I keep asking some questions. Do you know that if government, if NEPA wants to share NEPA bill, they get into every house. They know every house. If they want to do vaccine, they know every house. They want to share palliatives that will assist people They don't know all houses.
But if they want to give bonanza or palliative, like you say, they don't.
They know people they want to give, so they don't care to know the houses of people that really needs these things.
Well, it's indeed a developing issue, but I don't know. What do you think? In as much as this is just a trying moment for not a trial anyway for the offtake of this refinery, but in the next few
group constitute of so many rich Nigerians, and they are decision makers. I'm afraid they may not even want to start this one, despite the fact that as that Dangote group grows, they take off their shares, they share their money. I don't think they'll be even thinking of revitalizing this one again. I'm hoping that they should do it, but I'm afraid that they may not want to do it again. But it is not even good for us that government should even think of revitalizing this thing. Let private people buy these refineries and let it be privatized completely.
And that was one of the plans Atiku Abubakar had.
Yeah. Yes! That was one of the things that Atiku
When he
Abubakar
talked about it, they wooed him, so a lot of people called their names. But if the Buhari administration do say
things that are privatized are working better than things that belong to the government. Even let's look at what is happening with even the telecommunication that people normally give examples with. If this refineries will be privatized, I think people should have it, and it will have a competition in this nation. My fear is that Dangote may not use his power to stop this one from being privatized and give other people to have a competition for him. But I think that would be a very best thing for us.
But of course, also, what is a best practice in other climes is you don't privatize. Of course, there are national assets that, as a matter of fact, should also be under the superintendence of the government. You don't privatize almost everything.
For me, if there's anything that should be under the government, is security.
Security. I know there is concession, of something, but of course, just like for instance, you say you're privatizing Namdi International Airport and so on and so on. I know that concession takes place. There are some, issues that
these concessions are taken at the very end of this government. That's why I don't like it. If he had a very good thinking about Nigerians concerning this thing, he should have done it in his first tenure or early in his second tenure. But these things are coming very long time. I want to believe that the incoming president will advise all these things.
All right, Benjamin Gablai, thank goodness we are not discussing new Naira policy today.
I was thinking you will even ask me briefly to say my mind about it.
Currency circulation.